time when all does not seem to be right in the current ruling coalition regarding the presidential election and national politics in general, CPN-UML chairperson KP Sharma Oli has criticized the government move to declare a public holiday on the People's War Day. Good evening, I'm Sarah Chitrakar and these are the headlines of the hour. CPN Mao's Centre and CPN Unified Socialists reach agreement on national consensus for president. Meeting of previous coalition partners delving on the presidential poll. With political parties busy strategizing for presidential election, Judges Society Nepal has termed former and officiating judges eligible for other state roles, including president. Businesses, schools and most forms of an ordinary midweek-day stand still in the West Bank, Jerusalem, a day after 11 Palestinians killed during an Israeli raid. And Team Nepal to participate in the United Arab Emirates tour under the ICC World Cricket League 2 series announced. Rape alleged Sandeep Lamichhane not included. CPN Mao's Centre and CPN Unified Socialists have reached an agreement to finalize a consensus candidate for the president. The meeting of the senior leaders of the two parties held at the office of the Parliamentary Party of CPN Mao's Centre in Singha Darbar reached an agreement regarding a consensus presidential candidate. Prime Minister and CPN Mao's Centre chairperson Pushpa Kamal Dahal said that a consensus candidate will be selected by coming Saturday. Efforts are underway to revive the former five-party alliance as well. However, Premier Dahal did not reveal from which alliance the candidate will be selected. Other leaders who attended meeting also said that both the parties have neared consensus and that further discussions will be held during the meeting with Nepali Congress. The political parties have intensified internal and bilateral dialogues as the date for registering candidacies for the presidential election is inching close. CPN-UML chairperson KP Sharma Oli for the first time has expressed dissatisfaction regarding the government decision to issue a public holiday on the People's War Day. Launching a book titled Bishwas Shanti Prarthana at his residence in Balkot, Bhaktapur, UML Chair Oli said that the government decision to declare public holiday on the 1st of Fagun of the Nepali calendar was regrettable. Oli termed the inclusion of the occasion in the national calendar a mistake. Chair Oli went on to say that the decision has encouraged the trend of feeling proud in violence. Chair Oli, hinting towards Premier Dahal, said that there was no point in reminiscing the past full of violence after joining the peace process. At a time when political parties are strategizing for the selection of presidential candidate, the Judges Society Nepal has stated that there is no restriction for appointing former or officiating Chief Justice and judges as the President or the Vice President. At a time when entities are lobbying for appointment of former Chief Justices as the President, the Judges Society Nepal has stated its opinion today, citing the Article 64 of the Constitution of Nepal. President of the entity and Supreme Court Justice Ishwar Prasad Khatiwada in the release said that former Chief Justice and other judges are not prohibited from serving in other state roles. The society is an organized group of officiating judges. Minister for Physical Infrastructure and Transport Narayan Kaji Shrestha has said that construction works for the expansion of the ring road will resume soon. During the joint inspection conducted by Minister Shrestha along with Chinese Ambassador to Nepal, Mayor of Kathmandu Metropolis and Managing Director of Nepal Electricity Authority (NEA) among other officials earlier today, the minister said that all the issues regarding the project have been addressed and that the construction works will resume soon. The second phase of the ring road expansion had remained halted for the past 3 years amid failure to address local issues. The government had reached an agreement to expand the 11-kilometer road section from Kathmandu's Kalanki to Dhobikhola, Gopikrishna under the Chinese aid. The construction works, however, could not gain momentum amid failure to fell trees, remove physical structures, manage drinking water system, and remove electricity and internet poles, among other basic works. Ride-sharing, the use of private vehicles for commute and pick and drop of goods, among other services aided by mobile application, is very popular in the Kathmandu Valley at the moment. Around 100,000 individuals use the ride-sharing services on a daily basis in Kathmandu. However, the government has failed in introducing any laws to monitor ride-sharing even in 5 years of its operation in Nepal. Kathmandu Valley Traffic Police Office has intensified the monitoring of ride-sharing in recent months. The police office has taken actions against 6,003 vehicles providing ride-sharing services since December 13, most of them being motorcycles. The actions were taken for charging high fares, parking at random places, and operating offline. The government is yet to introduce laws to monitor and regulate ride-sharing services. While the regulating entities have been receiving grievances of different nature, there is no clarity on legal actions. Even in such a situation, the popularity of ride-sharing service is increasing because of ill-managed public transport. In addition to commute, the demand of ride-sharing is also increasing for delivery of goods. Almost 24 ride-sharing apps are registered in the Kathmandu Valley alone. While around 150,000 are directly employed by these services, nearly 100,000 individuals use them. However, absence of laws mean there is no clarity regarding taxation while riders operate offline because of the commission they are required to give to the companies. Vehicles registered for private purpose cannot be used to generate revenue by charging fares. For reasons such as such, the Department of Transport Management has previously directed to ban the ride-sharing services. However, the directive was not implemented following the decision of erstwhile Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli 4 years ago. On a writ filed by the taxi operators to ban ride-sharing services, Patan High Court had directed to allow operating by formulating required laws. While ride-sharing services are providing ease to the service seekers, complications remain regarding compensations and insurance in cases of accidents. Time now for our segment, Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
Here's the question: what should be done to curb organized crime? The options are A, end of political protection, B, effective investigation, and C, implementation of laws. Voting is on. Type NAWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Paddy production has reduced by 32,760 metric tons this year in relative comparison to last year in Thanusha. While 179,000 metric tons of paddy was produced last year, production was limited to 146,280 metric tons this year. According to the Agriculture Information and Training Center, reduction in paddy production has been attributed to farmers switching to fish farming, scarcity of fertilizers and saplings, and problems related to irrigation, among others. The number of people reaching the hot water springs in different parts of Myagdi for natural treatment of several diseases has increased in recent time. Following the promotion of the hot water springs of the district, the number of patients reaching these spots has increased. People with ailments related to joints and bones, injuries, stomach and skin have been reaching these hot water springs. There are many hot water springs at the banks of rivers in Myagdi. District Administration Office Thanusha has begun recording the details for the national identity cards by charging a minimum service fee. Following the directive of Chief District Officer Kashi Raj Dahal, information of service seekers are being recorded at the premises of the Thanusha District Administration Office. The service seekers no longer have to pay higher fees of up to 2,500 rupees to fill the online forms at the District Administration Office has provided the service at a very low cost of 100 rupees. Time now for international update. Businesses, schools and most forms of an ordinary midweek day stood still in the West Bank, Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip on Thursday, a day after 11 Palestinians were killed during an Israeli raid in the occupied West Bank. A Palestinian group called for a general strike as a form of protest and the cities abided. Some Palestinians considered it a day of mourning, while others considered it a move reflecting solidarity. During the raid, Israeli troops had killed 11 Palestinians, including at least 4 gunmen and 4 civilians, and wounded more than 100 people. The Israeli army said troops there had tried detaining militants suspected of planning imminent attacks when they had come under the fire and shot back. Palestinian sources said the 2 Islamic Jihad commanders had been killed along with another gunman. The 4 civilian fatalities had included a 72-year-old man and a 14-year-old boy. This all escalated and was followed by Gaza militants firing rockets, and Israel carried out airstrikes across the Israel-Gaza frontier, renewing concerns of broader escalation. Mediation efforts were underway by Egypt and the United Nations to calm the situation. Wang Wenbin, a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, has said that China and Russia maintain normal exchanges in trade and cooperation. Wang said that China and Russia maintain close communication at multiple levels to promote the development of bilateral relations and contribute to the maintenance of world peace and development. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that bilateral trade with China would soon reach $200 billion a year. In 2022, trade between the two countries was worth $190 billion. The United States is concerned by greater alignment between China and Russia, the U.S. State Department said after Putin hailed new frontiers in ties with Beijing and signaled China's Xi Jinping would visit his country. Meanwhile, China's foreign ministry said any potential intelligence on arms transfer by China to Russia that the United States plans to release was just speculation. The Wall Street Journal earlier reported that the U.S. government is considering releasing intelligence on China, considering supplying weapons to Russia. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen stepped up calls on Thursday for increased financing support to Ukraine to help it battle the year-old Russian invasion as the United States readies an additional $10 billion in economic assistance in coming weeks. Yellen, speaking at a news conference in India on the eve of the first anniversary of the Russian invasion, said it was critical for the International Monetary Fund to move swiftly towards a fully financed loan program for Ukraine. Yellen is to join other finance ministers and heads of central banks from the group of 20 nations on Friday for a meeting at a resort near the tech hub of Bengaluru. It is the first major meeting of India's year-long presidency of the bloc, which includes G7 countries, as well as Russia, China, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia. Ukraine is seeking a $15 billion multi-year IMF program, Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal said on Monday after meeting IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva in Kyiv. India, which has kept a neutral stance on the war, does not want additional sanctions against Russia to be discussed at the G20 meetings. India also has pressing participants to avoid using war in communic language to describe the conflict, G20 officials said. But Yellen said she would like to see forceful condemnation of the war and stressed that past G20 statements had contained strong language on the Ukraine conflict. Yellen said that G20 countries, especially China, need to work to ease the debt overhang that is putting more than half of low-income countries in debt distress. Yellen said talks between the United States and China on economic issues would resume at an appropriate time, but also warned Beijing that providing any material support to Russia's war effort would be a very serious concern. Yellen also vowed that the U.S. and its allies would continue to impose further sanctions on Russia as the conflict drags on. The death toll at a coal mine collapse in China's Inner Mongolia region rose to at least 4 people on Thursday, with 6 injured and 49 missing, state media reported. The collapse on Wednesday at an open pit mine in the Alexa League operated by Xinjiang Coal Mining Co. left a pile of debris roughly 500 meters across and an estimated 80 meters high, state media reported. 300 fire rescue personnel, 60 fire engines and 6 search and rescue dogs were at the scene on Thursday to aid the search for trapped miners. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez on Thursday visited two Ukrainian towns of Bucha and Irpin on the outskirts of capital Kyiv before meeting President Volodymyr Zelensky on the eve of the first anniversary of Russia's invasion. Sanchez paid flowers tribute for the fallen in the war in Bucha and met with mayors of the two towns, Anatoly Fedoruk and Alexander Markushin. The Kyiv suburbs of Bucha and Irpin became symbols of some of the worst war atrocities after mass graves were discovered following the retreat of Russian forces from the area. On his arrival in Kyiv, Sanchez was received by Ukraine's Deputy Foreign Minister, the Ukrainian ambassador in Madrid, and the Spanish ambassador to Ukraine, his office added in a statement. Sanchez's visit comes after U.S. President Joe Biden had promised new military aid for Ukraine worth $500 million during a surprise visit to Kyiv on Monday. On Tuesday, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni also visited the Ukrainian capital for talks with Zelensky, whom she pledged to continue supporting in resetting Russian attacks but ruled out offering fighter jets. Japanese Emperor Naruhito on Thursday gave his first public birthday address since ascending the throne almost 4 years ago after delays due to the COVID-19 outbreak, and urged support for people struggling with inflation and the pandemic. Naruhito, who turned 63, was crowned emperor on 1st of May 2019 after his father Akihito became the first emperor to abdicate in 2 centuries. Last month, Naruhito also resumed the emperor's traditional New Year's address for the first time since the COVID outbreak, as the country eases restrictions and return to normal practices. Naruhito was joined by his wife, Empress Masako, his daughter Aiko, 21, and his brother, Crown Prince Akishino, and his wife and daughter, all of whom wore white masks. Public attendees were limited to fewer than 5,000 individuals, chosen from more than 60,000 applicants, according to the Imperial Household Agency, which manages the imperial family's lives. Before the pandemic, the appearances were open to anybody.
Sports News.
Team Nepal to participate in the United Arab Emirates tour under the ICC World Cricket League 2 series has been announced. Despite the efforts of the Cricket Association of Nepal to include Sandeep Lamichhane, who is alleged of raping a minor in the squad, it has not been successful. The National Cricket Governing Body CAN had appealed with the National Sports Council to make efforts for including rape-alleged Lamichhane in the UAE tour. However, the council had said that it could not involve in a case which was in progress at the court, which led to CAN announcing a 15-member squad, excluding Lamichhane, who was released on a bail of 2 million rupees by the Patan High Court on the condition of not leaving the nation, among other terms. However, terming the decision of the High Court a mistake, Office of the Attorney General had moved the Supreme Court, demanding judicial custody of Lamichhane while the case was in progress. That's all for the moment. We will now take you back to the live coverage of the cybersecurity dialogue. Bye for now.